Okay, so the very first title we got here is called Berserker, and this one you get once you unlock Human V4, and similar to that we got Thunderbolt, and for this one you have to unlock Rabbit V4. Next up is Leviathan, and for this one you guessed it, you have to unlock Shark V4. Then we got His Majesty, and for this one you have to unlock Angel V4. Then we got Nightwalker, and for this one you gotta unlock Ghoul V4. And for the last race Cyborg, once you unlock the V4 version you get the Genesis title. Next up we got Bounty Hunter, and for this one you have to get a 5 million or higher bounty or honor. And then you also get Pirate Hunter with the exact same requirements. Next up we got Warlord of the Sea, and for this one you need a 10 million plus bounty. Then we got Emperor of the Sea, and for this one you gotta have a 20 million plus bounty. And you obviously also get Empress of the Sea along with that. Next up we got Admiral, and for this one you have to get 100 million honor. And similar to that, next up we got Fleet Admiral, and for this one you need 20 million plus honor. Next, we got the Enlightened one. This one you get as soon as you awaken any race. By that I mean getting the race to its V4 version. You also get Awakened one along with Over Heaven and Over Hell, all for the same thing. What I mean by that is when you awaken a fruit, you get this title. Next, we got Flame Fist, and this one you get for the Flame Awakening. Then we got the Ice Queen and the Ice King, which you get for obviously the Ice Awakening. Next, we got the Strongest one, and this one is for the Quake Awakening. And next up for the Light Awakening, we got the First Light. Then for the Dark Awakening, we got Dark Lord, and the Spider for the Spider Awakening, Thunder God for the Rumble Awakening, the Red Dog for the Magma Awakening, Colossal God for the Buddha Awakening, Desert Prince for the Sand Awakening, and for the Phoenix Awakening, we got the Phoenix. Next, we got Bread Chaser for the Dough Awakening, which is pretty funny in my opinion. Next up, we got Innovator, and for this one, you had to vote for the Roblox Innovation Awards during 2023. Next, we got Venlock Toad, and for this one, you have to complete the April Fool's 2023 event, and you can obviously no longer get this. Next, we got Plugor Destroyer of Worlds, and for this one, you also had to complete the April Fool's 2023 event, which is obviously still not available. Next up, we got a title that you can claim with a Twitter code, or I should say an X code, because Twitter got renamed, and this one is called Big News. Next, we got the YouTuber title, and for this one, you have to be a Blox Fruits YouTuber with a good standing in the community, and I still don't have a YouTuber title. Next, we got the Ace Squad, and for this one, you gotta defeat the YouTuber The Great Ace. Then we got Officially a Noob, and for this one, you obviously gotta defeat Official Newbie. Then we got Water Gang, and for this one, you have to defeat Digrok. Next, we got Don Exoria Familia, and for this one, you gotta defeat the YouTuber Axori. Sorry if I'm pronouncing these wrong, by the way. Next, we got Mafia Gang, and for this one, you have to defeat Bloxy Gaming. Then we got Herora Family, and for this one, you have to defeat the YouTuber Herora. Next, we got Magic Slayer, and for this one, you gotta obviously defeat Magic Buzz. Then we got Kit Kat, and for this one, you gotta defeat Kid Gaming. Then we got Team JC, and for this one, you gotta defeat the YouTuber JCWK. Next up, we got El Combo God, and for this one, you have to defeat Fur999. Next up, we got Nakama Forever, and for this one, you gotta defeat me and you. Next up, we got Endless Fantasy, and for this one, you gotta defeat Raijo_N. Then we got El Crazy Editor, and you gotta defeat the content editor Ziolas. Next, we got Rip Family, and for this one, all you gotta do is join the Rip Family group and receive a higher role in that group. Then we got Lead Region for the exact same thing, but this time you gotta join a different group called the Red Legion. Next, we got Justice Seeker, and for this one, you just have to claim your first bounty as a Marine. Next, we got Empty Vessel, and for this one, you just have to use up all your energy, which might be kind of difficult for higher level players, because they literally have like 4,000 plus energy. Next, we got the Unlucky, and for this one, you just have to die to a regular enemy. Then we got the Vanquished, and for this one, you gotta die to a boss. Then we got Fallen Hero, and for this one, you gotta die to a raid boss. Next up, we got Iron Man, and for this one, you have to reach Max Hockey. Then we got Ultra Instinct, and for this one, you gotta reach Max Observation. Next, we got Mad Scientist, and for this one, you just gotta buy a regular microchip from the Scientist. Then we got the Professor, and for this one, you gotta buy a special microchip. Next, we got the Shadow, and for this one, all you have to do is stay in a server for more than an hour, which is kind of difficult if you got a low attention span, like me. Next, we got the Vampire, and for this one, you gotta stay in a server for 4 hours. Then we got Dracula, and for this one, you have to stay in a server for around 12 hours. Damn, that's a lot of time. Next, we got the Grandfather, and for this one, you have to trade fragments for a race reroll. Next, we got Jack of all trades, and for this one, you gotta trade in fragments for a stat refund. Then we got the Undefeated one, and for this one, you have to receive damage from a player and survive with less than 50 HP left. Next, we got Immortal Being, and for this one, you have to receive damage from a player and survive with 1 HP left. And I don't think a lot of you have this, because this is extremely difficult to do, even if you have a friend helping you. Next, we got the Mad King, and for this one, you gotta play a chess match in Blox Fruits and use the castle function. Next, we got the Mastermind, and for this one, you have to defeat an opponent in a chess game. Next up, we got the Dog, and for this one, all you gotta do is talk to the doghouse. Next, we have Ship Destroyer, and for this one, you gotta destroy a ship with a cannon, which is something that I surprisingly have not done yet. Next, we got the Explorer, and for this one, you have to reach level 800. Next up, we got the Adventurer, and for this one, you got to reach level 1000. Next, Mercenary, and for this one, you have to reach level 1200. Viking for level 1600, the Pioneer for level 2000, and the Glorious for level 2400. Next, we got the Master, and for this one, you have to reach max mastery on any weapon, sword, gun, or fighting style. Then we got Unbreakable Will for the exact same thing. Next up, we got Fist of Death, and for this one, you got to reach max mastery on a fighting style. Then we got God's Blade for reaching max mastery on a sword. Then we got King Sniper for reaching max mastery on a gun. Lastly, for the masteries, we got Beyond the Sea for max mastery on a fruit. I recommend using the Doe or the Leopard fruit. It's pretty easy to find people with that. Next up, we got Broken Heart, and for this one, you gotta run out of time during a raid, which is pretty easy to do if you're bad at the game. Next, we got the Conqueror, and for this one, you gotta complete a raid. Next up, we got Last Hope, and for this one, you have to be the last person standing and win a raid. So you just have to clutch up for your friends, basically. Next up, we got the Supersonic, and for this one, you have to complete a raid in less than 5 minutes. Next, we got the Flash, and for this one, you have to complete a raid in less than 3 minutes, 30 seconds. Next, we got the Champion, and for this one, you have to complete Bartolo's mission, which is required if you want to head over to the 3rd sea. Next, we got Tide Warrior, and for this one, you have to die to water, which is pretty easy to do, and I'm sure you all can figure out how to do that. Next, we got the Toxic, and for this one, you gotta win a fruit from the factory event on the 2nd sea. Next, we got Blessed One, and for this one, you just have to simply find a fruit, which might be kind of hard to do if you don't have the Bloxfruit Notifier Game Pass. Next, we got Equal to the Heavens, and for this one, you have to defeat a Bloxfruit staff member, and this one is pretty difficult to do because I don't think you're running into a staff member in your game anytime soon. Next up, we got the Rich, and for this one, you have to obtain cash of 5 million or higher. Next up, we got Unlimited Money, and for this one, you have to get at least 20 million belly. Next, we got Richest in the World, and for this one, you gotta get 50 million belly. Damn, that's a lot of money. Next up, we got the Unleashed, and for this one, you gotta unlock Human V2. Then we got Unmatched Speed, and for this one, you gotta unlock Rabbit V2. Next up is Sea Monster, and for this one, you gotta unlock Shark V2. Next, we got Sacred Warrior, and for this one, you gotta unlock Angel V2. Then we got the Ghoul, which you obviously have to unlock Ghoul V2 for. Then we got the Cyborg, and this one is also pretty self-explanatory. You gotta get Cyborg V2. Next up, we got Full Power, and for this one, you have to unlock Human V3. Then we got Godspeed, and for this one, you need to unlock Rabbit V3. Next up, we got Warrior of the Sea, and for this one, you have to unlock Shark V3. Then we got Perfect Being, and for this one, you gotta unlock Angel V3. Then we got Hellhound for Ghoul V3, and War Machine for Cyborg V3. Next, we got the Collector, and for this one, you have to buy something from the Legendary Sword Dealer or the Master of Auras. And those NPCs are pretty difficult to buy something from. Next, we got the Swordsman, and for this one, you gotta obtain a sword from the Legendary Sword Dealer. Next up, we got Beast Hunter, and for this one, you gotta defeat a Sea Beast. And if you're trying to get this title, I recommend the Shark V4 race along with the Awakened Magma Fruit. Next up, we got the Beast, and for this one, you gotta defeat 25 Sea Beasts. Then we got the Lost Soul, and for this one, you gotta die to Factory Poison. Next, we got Forbidden One, and for this one, you have to find the Fist of Darkness in a chest. Next up is the Troll, and for this one, you have to die with the fruit in your inventory. Then we got Hidden Power, and for this one, you gotta eat a physical fruit. Next, we have Heavenly Devil, and for this one, you gotta defeat the Dawn Swan boss once. Next, we got the Cursed One, and for this one, you gotta defeat the Darkbeard boss. Next is Beyond Death, and this one is for the Order boss. Then we got Night's Edge, and this is for the Cursed Captain. Then we got Kind-Hearted, and for this one, you gotta drop a fruit. But I'm not sure why they're giving you the Kind-Hearted title, because you can literally just drop a fruit and pick it up again. Next, we got the Kraken, and for this one, you gotta drop a fruit into the sea. And if you want this title, I recommend dropping a useless fruit, like the Kilo. Next, we got Lavish Living, and for this one, you gotta buy any fruit from the Bloxfruit Dealer. Next, we got Night Owl, and for this one, you gotta buy a fruit worth 1 million plus from the Bloxfruit Dealer. Next, we got Wicked Captain, and for this one, you gotta get the Dark Coat, which you get from defeating the Darkbeard boss. Next, we got Dragonborn, and for this one, you gotta unlock Dragon's Breath. Next, we got Burning Leg, and this one is obviously for Death Step. Next up is Sharkman, and this one is for Sharkman Karate. Then we got the Samurai title for people that unlock the Rengoku sword. Next, we got the Silent, and this is if you die to a player that's below level 800. Next is the Executioner if you die to a max level player. And to get this title, you also gotta be max level when you die to them. Next, we got the Stalker, and for this one, you gotta defeat a player that's the same level as yours. Next, we got Risk Taker, and for this one, you gotta buy a fruit from the Bloxfruit Dealer's cousin. Next is Luck of Draw. For this one, you have to get a fruit that's worth more than 1 million from the Bloxfruit Gacha. Next, we got Unstoppable Force, and for this one, you gotta defeat 5 players, and each kill has to take bounty or honor. So you can't defeat someone that you already killed 3 times. Keep in mind, you also have to do all of this without dying in the same server. Next, we got Raging Demon, which is the same thing as before, but this time you gotta kill 20 people without dying in the same server. Damn, that's gonna be pretty difficult to do. Next, we got the Protagonist, and for this one, you gotta defeat 2 or more players at the same time. Then we got Cold-Blooded, and for this one, you have to defeat 10 players in the same server. Then we got Apex Predator, and for this one, you gotta defeat 25 players in the same server. Next, we got the Killer for unlocking Superhuman. You also get the Human Weapon for this. And when you unlock the True Triple Katana, you get the Demon Eye title along with the Hurricane. Next, you get the Enhancer if you unlock any aura color, and you get True Heart if you unlock the Snow White color, and if you unlock the Pure Red color, you get Bringer of Doom. If you unlock the Winter Sky color, then you get Realm Creator, and if you unlock every single purchasable aura hockey color in the game, then you get Hakai Shin. Next up, we got Slayer of God, and for this one, you have to unlock the Graveyard Secret, which is the Darkblade Slayer skin. Next up, we got the Ghost, and for this one, you gotta collect 100 Ectoplasm. Next, we got Ruler of the Night, and for this one, you gotta collect 250 Ectoplasm. Then we got Lonely Reaper, and for this one, you gotta collect 1000 Ectoplasm. Next up, we got the Most Wanted, and for this one, you gotta own a crew that's currently in the top 100 of the leaderboard, which is very, very difficult to do. But that's nothing compared to the next one. This next one is called Pirate King, and you have to own a crew that is in the top 10 leaderboard of the game. and this is probably by far the hardest title to get on this list. Next, we got Sugar Rush, and for this one, you gotta collect 100 candies. And candies are obviously something you can collect during the Christmas event. Next up, we got Christmas Spirit for 250 candies, then we got Loco Verde for 1000 candies. Next up, we get the Raid Boss title if you get a fruit from the Pirate Raid event. Next up, we got the Real Deal, and for this one, you gotta defeat an elite enemy. Next, we have Demon Mode, and for this one, you gotta unlock the Yama Sword. After that, we got Celestial Swordsman, and for this one, you gotta unlock Tushida. When you unlock Electric Claw, you get the Ration title. Next, we got Shadow Souvenir, and for this one, you gotta defeat Rip Indra in his true form. Next, we got the Chosen One, and for this one, you gotta find the God's Chalice in a chest. Next is Main Characters, and you get this by completing the Citizens mission. Next up is Final Hero, and for this one, you have to unlock the Rainbow Savior hockey color. Next, we got Skeleton, and for this one, you have to simply collect 250 bones. And you can get those on the Haunted Castle in the 3rd Sea by killing Skeleton. Then we got Undead Lord, which you can get by collecting 500 bones. Next, we got Death King, which you can get by collecting 2000 bones. And this title and the previous one are actually unobtainable after update 15, so if you have this, then you can consider yourself special. Next, we got Shinigami, and for this one, you gotta defeat the Soul Reaper once. Then we got Devil's Luck, and for this one, you gotta get the Halo Essence or the God's Chalice from praying. Next up are two pretty difficult titles to get. First up, we got Dough Commander, and for this one, you gotta defeat the Cake Prince. Next up is Dough King, and you get this by defeating, obviously, the Dough King. Now let's talk about some titles that you cannot get if you're a normal Blox Fruits player. First up, we got Rip Family Leader, and for this one, you gotta be Rip Indra. Next up is Dragon of Dojima, and for this one, you have to be Toratoise, also known as Kiru Kazuma. Next, we got Dragon Taro Torane. And for this one, you gotta be Uzak. Next up, we got the James Charles title, and for this one, you gotta be Rip Anderson. Next, we got the Lost Crazy Real Official, and for this one, you have to be Guaxin. Next, we got El Papi, and for this one, you have to be Uzi_London. Next up, we got Buzz of God, and for this one, you gotta be Brod. Lost Original Beast Supreme Loco Verde, and for this one, you gotta be Drip Mama. Next up, we got Stables Persendo. Why are so many of these Spanish, man? My Spanish is terrible. And for this one, you gotta be Airway. Next up, we got Loco Verde, and for this one, you gotta be Rip Indra. Next up is Festive Jester, and for this one, you gotta be Experiment. Next, we got El Rodolfo Official, and for this one, you gotta be a Blox Fruits admin. Next up is the owner and the Blox Fruits official title, and for this one, you gotta be a co-owner of Blox Fruits. Now let's talk about some title colors. First up, we got the default title, then we got the white title, which you can unlock automatically, and you can equip these at any time. Next up, we got Spanish Pink, which you can get after you get 10 titles. Then we got Deep Peach after 20 titles, Blonde after 30 titles. Once you get 40 titles, you get Calmasi. Once you get 50 titles, you get Nyans. Then we got Pistachio after 60 titles, Tea Green after 70 titles, Diamond after 80 titles, and after 90 titles, you get Powdered Blue, and after 100 titles, you get Pale Lavender. But wait, there's more. After 120 titles, you get Shampoo, you get the Classic Rose after you reach 140 titles, and finally, you get Aquamarine if you reach 160 titles.